So Tanshakia, Colleen Lucier, Datashtan, Lii Michif Otipemisiwak Family and Community Services. So hello, my name is Colleen Lucier, and I work for Lii Michif Otipemisiwak Family and Community Services, and we are a Métis-specific child and family service agency. So we actually offer a wide range of services from basically zero, so infant child development, we even do prenatal, all the way up to, well, we have, actually there's no age limit. So we have elders programs, we offer fathers programs, mothers programs, we have youth services. So really it's holistic. So but what's a common theme throughout all our programming is being really mindful that we're a Métis service provider. So our Michif language, our elders, the way the materials we use, the stories we use are all Métis specific. There's common values that we share as Indigenous people, but our Métis people, for a lot of the families we serve anyway, they just haven't had the opportunity to be part of their community or understand their sense of identity. So we really have to emphasize that in all of our programs. So we make bannock in a traditional way. We try to do everything that would be common to our Métis people and our Métis culture. So one of the newest endeavors that we're working on is a very unique Indigenous housing project for not just Métis children, but all Indigenous youth that are aging out of the foster care system or the child welfare system. So we're really proud of it. We're hoping it'll be ready in 2019. We're really trying to make an effort at improving outcomes for all Indigenous youth who age out of care. That's a population that we feel has really been neglected, and that's a population that we find living on the streets or engaged in really dangerous lifestyles. So we want to break that cycle. We don't want to be bringing our children into care. We want to work really hard with their families to support them to stay within their families. But when that's not possible, and should children end up staying in care and aging out of care, we want to support them age out in a good way. So this housing complex will have elder residents as well. So there'll be elders living on site. It'll be culturally safe, so they'll see themselves reflected in the design and the imagery on the walls, and they'll be supported. We're going to have support workers on site 24/7. So we're really excited for that. So that's one of our newest projects. So once again, we serve zero till whenever. But as I said earlier, we really don't ever want people to leave our services, because we're building community here and we want our people to be part of community. So it's very, just very holistic and community based. And I can say that about every program we serve. Research shows over and over and over that instilling that sense of belonging and connection to a child's Indigenous identity and strengthening their connection to their own family and extended family, that's what leads to better outcomes. We can do all kinds of different things for children. We can have them in sports activities. We can do so many different things, but if we don't connect them to their identity, we've missed the piece that's going to ground them, their roots, that will then allow them to do other incredible things. So yes, we involve and we honor services like child and youth mental health, speech therapy, whatever families might need to help them be united, whether it's if they're struggling with addictions, domestic violence, whatever those challenges are. In order for us to truly deal with them, we need to begin by we need to start their healing journey with a sense of belonging. So it's a big piece of the work that we do. And of course, we do all the other things that are involved with child welfare. But if we don't connect them well, the cycle of trauma just continues to perpetuate itself. So we've got to break that cycle. And we feel like I feel we're demonstrating success because we don't have a lot of our children coming into care. And because we work with the family, and it begins by welcoming them and giving them hope and believing in them. And because we say, well, if you're Métis, I know you're strong. Like, I know you've got this because you come from an incredible legacy of a very resilient, proud, compassionate, helpful, loving people. That's who we are. Well, the measures that I like to look at is we seek feedback from the families we serve. So I like to, every now and then we have different fun surveys just to give people an opportunity to give us feedback. But the way I measure that is by the attendance we have in the different programming, the lack of children that we're having to bring into care, the connections. So as I said, like, we might close their file, but if families stay involved with us, that's a sign of success, because it means they feel safe, they feel welcome, they feel like they belong. And that's what I'm looking for. When children are walking around wearing their sash and just so proud, that's a sign of success. When I have youth coming to volunteer at our elders' luncheons, that's a sign of success. And these are kids that you know, they've had a pretty tough life and they can have a pretty tough outer shell, but they're serving our elders. And I mean, that's a sign of success. So I guess in terms of child welfare, it's measured by how many files you have open, how many children you have in care, etc. But to us, it's more than that. It's how people feel here, and that they come here, when they're struggling before we even get a call. They just feel safe, and they know that they're not going to be judged. And so that's how I measure our success. And I'm feeling really confident in the work that we're doing and that we'll continue to do. So we have every child that we support receives a cultural package. And so these are just some items that we give out. This particular cultural chest is designed for a younger child, but we have other chests that are specific to a teenager with a little bit more cool stuff in it. But everything from our music, wooden spoons, flags. The flag is really popular. And just everything. We've got puzzles, of course, all the beautiful books that with our beautiful Métis artwork, and the translations in Michif. Like, there's so many beautiful Métis specific resources that are out there. That so everything we order is Métis specific. So I think we have probably got every Métis item that exists in our country. So all of the Métis resource distributors know us well. We're on first name basis. But our Métis Nation BC has a great little store. So we really try to support all the organizations in Canada that have Métis resources. I mean, everything. Like, there's just so much that our children need to know. Our people that we serve, they don't know about their history as road allowance people. Like, what does that mean? So these stories are just so beautiful. And the artwork, and then they have CDs that accompany them. We work really closely with Norman Fleury, and he's often translated all of our stories in Michif. So we're just so honored to have all the relationships that we have, and to show our children and youth that there's so many talented and accomplished Métis people that we've got our own heroes and leaders that we want to honor and promote. So we try to do that through all the different resources. Every child receives and youth receives a cultural chest that's hand painted. So there's not one chest the same. So we really try to make them unique. And of course, every child we serve is presented with a sash. We incorporate a lot of honoring into our programming. So we'll have a beautiful dinner, and then they'll be presented with sash and the different cultural resources. So this month we're honoring all of our kinship families. So we try to keep our children in their families. So we want to honor those family members who have opened their family and their homes to their nieces or nephews or grandchildren. So this month we're honoring all our kinship caregivers. So every month we have a different honoring ceremony. So yeah, so this is what child welfare looks like. It's about honoring, giving hope, and being compassionate to families that are going through a very difficult time in their life. And when we trace back a family's story, when we take the time to get to know their story, it's so interesting how you can see how our families were disconnected because of historical events. So we need to just re-strengthen that connection and help them remember their history. And then we're good to go. We can break that cycle. Yeah, so from my perspective, Indigenous education begins with a reflection of the people. So for us, we work really hard at instilling within the children, youth, and families we are honored to serve a sense of who they are. We don't believe we can move forward in any healing journey if we don't ground those that we serve in their cultural identity and their sense of self and their sense of belonging. So Indigenous education, for me, it does begin with knowing who you are, who your ancestors were, the strength that you carry with you, and to help you move forward in your life in a good way. Well, my best hope would be that every Métis child, youth, parent that we are honored to serve walk away from our services in a manner that they have a really strong sense of their identity. Actually, I want to correct myself. I don't want people to walk away from our services. It's interesting. We're a child welfare, primarily a child welfare agency, although we do have early childhood education learning. We have youth services. We have a variety of services, but we are primarily a child welfare agency. And often people want their files closed, and which we totally understand. But I tell our families, we don't want to. We can close your file, but we want you to always remain connected to us, because really what we're doing here is recreating a sense of community and extended family. For a lot of the families that we serve, there's been some disconnect along the way, so we're really trying hard to strengthen that and sometimes rebuild it for those that we serve. But my best hope is that I know that we have been successful when our children know who they are, and so they've been identified as Métis, but they often don't have a sense of that connection, the sense of what that means. But they know they're Métis. So my best hope is that we can create for them a better understanding of who they are, and that they understand their history. We have lots of teaching tools that we incorporate into our practice, and the very initial meeting that we have with families is to help them remember who they are. So we have little booklets that highlight the history of our people, and I love the title, Always Us, Tapitao Nianan. We need to remember that we come from a long legacy of very resilient people with a very distinct cultural identity, ways of caring for ourselves, the way that our families cared for one another. And we want to help our families remember that history, because it's through remembering where we come from, the strength that we've always had, that we can move forward and deal with any of the challenges we might be experiencing. We need our community to be strong. We have a huge Métis community here in Kamloops, and I want every child and family we work with that is likely disconnected from that community to be part of it and feel that they belong. So we really, in order for us to do our work really well, we can't do it alone. We need our Métis community. We need our Métis nation to be strong and show our people that they belong to a strong, compassionate people that are resilient, that help one another. So even walking into our building, if you happen to be a Métis person, we want you to know that you're walking into a Métis home. So we have lots of imagery that reflects our people, that reflects our history, the symbols that we now have come to accept as identifying ourselves, like our sash, our flag, the fiddle. So from the moment you walk through our doors, I always remind our staff to make sure our music's on, so that you walk into an environment where all your senses are awoken with the Métis culture. And so I think it's about our people, our elders. We have an elder in residence every day because we want to help our children and families remember that it was our Musums and Klukams that we went to when we were struggling. So we always have a Métis elder present at our meetings. They go on home visits. They're just here. Our elders are so talented, and in order for us to achieve different outcomes for our children involved with the child welfare system, we have to do things differently. And so what does that look like? What does that mean? Those are questions we ask ourselves all the time. And it looks like having elders at the table and having culture reflected in every service that we offer. If we're going to be a Métis specific service provider, our work has to reflect our Métis people, which is another reason why we need our community. We're only here because to serve our Métis community. So our service has to reflect our community. And if we're not accountable, then then there's a disconnect, and that doesn't lead to good outcomes. So as the executive director, I'm really mindful of the importance of that accountability. Not only to the practice standards I have to follow in terms of child welfare, but I feel an incredible sense of accountability to my Métis nation and my Métis people, and probably even more so to our ancestors that I know are watching. And I think they would be proud of what we've accomplished here, and that's a personal goal, is to I always have my grandmothers and great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers and in my mind when I'm doing my work, and what would they like to see? What would they hope I would be doing to carry on their legacy?